Well, welcome. I'm so excited to have you joining us here today. As always, we really strive to give you lots of interesting topics so that you can negotiate your best life on your terms. And today is definitely going to be no exception. We're going to be chatting today with Sussi Mattsson about negotiating past human trafficking and other trauma. So you won't want to miss this. It's a very interesting and a unique episode today. So welcome, Sussi.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cindy, for having me.
And for those of you who may not know her, Susie's an international coach and a speaker, and she helps people transform past wounds into wisdom, which I love that saying. And she's also the founder of From Me to You movement, and she's dedicated to helping others make peace with their past traumas. And let's face it, we all have trauma to some degree, some more than others. So definitely stay tuned. So, Sussi, why don't we jump in? I mean, you have had certainly quite a traumatic childhood story that I suspect inspires your current work helping others overcome trauma. Do you mind sharing that story? I didn't want to share it without your permission.
Of course. So when I was 8 years old, my mom passed away from cancer, and my parents was divorced prior to that. So I needed to live with my father and move into him and his new wife. And after 6 months, we discovered that he had made a false passport and bought me a one-way airline ticket to take me down to Southern Europe. And after being abused by him for 6 months and finding out that he was about to sell me to strangers in a foreign country, I decided to run away from home to save myself and not board that plane straight to hell.
Well, and if you don't, I mean, I know this is some time ago, but 8 years old, I mean, that it's almost too much to just wrap your head around. How did you have the wherewithal at 8 years old to be able to negotiate survival, frankly, at that stage?
Well, from my adult perspective, I can look back now and see that the extremely strong driving force was the dream of a better life.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how and I didn't know where.
Yeah.
I just knew that there has to be something better than this.
Yeah.
And when you don't have anybody who can save you, well, you need to save yourself. And
Yeah.
and I thought when I was 8 years old, I thought I was worth saving. So I do believe that from this perspective, when I process my past,
Yeah.
that is 2012, 34 years later, this happened. I really realized that that dream was so extremely strong, and that was the one thing that kept me moving and to run away from home and not accepting to be sold or
Yeah.
I had just $1 in my pocket
My gosh.
and that's what it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and for our listeners, I want you to just take a moment to let that settle in. How strong that sense of self-love that Susie had at that tender age was enough of a driving force to help her push through circumstances that most would find unimaginable. So I really invite you to practice some self-love and recognize that you are worth it. If an 8-year-old
Yeah.
child had the intuitive knowledge that she was worth it, surely
Mm.
we do. And Susie, I'm wondering what's one thing that you wish you could go back and tell your 8-year-old self now?
Well, in 2012, when I processed all this, because I found myself in a position of being very successful in my business, yet in my personal life,
Yeah.
it was something really missing. There was like a unfulfillment, a hollow kind of sense in my soul.
Yeah.
So I decided to go back and write a letter to this little brave girl because I couldn't identify myself with her.
Yeah.
And that is a big insight that in adult life, you're not seeing yourself as brave, as bold, and taking action. But I could see in that little girl that she actually literally saved my life
Yeah.
because she took action and she followed through and she believed and she fight. So I had this challenge with I couldn't identify myself with her. So I needed to write her a letter to at least say thank you for saving me.
Yeah.
And I think that was such a huge transformative experience to
Yeah,
go back and give power to that little girl from adult perspective, and just wanted to say to her, thank you.
that's beautiful.
So
And
yeah,
it's funny as you were saying that, Susie, I'm thinking normally we're like, what advice do we want to give as an adult to the child? But in this case, it was almost the opposite because the
yeah,
lesson came from that 8-year-old child survival.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah.
Now, do you mind? I'm a big believer in how we negotiate our mindset, that it's our most
Mhm.
important sort of negotiation. So I'm wondering, like, how did you negotiate your mindset to go from a child, who most people would assume doesn't have a voice to become a global leader with this movement? I mean, you've turned your pain into purpose, if you will, and then transformed other
Yeah.
people to get past their wounds. So was there a turning point for you? How did that happen?
I believed I reacted as a lot of other people do, because we think we are okay, we don't talk about it, we close the door,
Yeah.
and then we keep moving. And in that space, we create kind of a new normal, because this feels like normal for us to operate from that platform, from that perspective. And in that phase, we actually create kind of survival patterns. And those are protecting us from actually going back in that deep, dark
Yeah.
exposure of the trauma. So it's really hard to describe. Yeah, it's hard to describe, but I do believe that, well, let me get back to that
Okay.
later on. And we go, yeah,
Okay.
because
No
I
worries.
really want to think about it a little while. So
Okay, absolutely.
yeah.
Now,
Thank you.
I started Art of Feminine Negotiation and Women on Purpose
Hmm.
to reframe leadership and success, how
Hmm.
we define it, how we look at it, how women can reframe leadership, not through a dominance perspective, but more through, radical self-awareness and emotional fluency, which is language I know you use. I wonder if you could
Yeah.
talk about how you negotiated your way from powerlessness, or at least perceived powerlessness, to purpose, and how can other women do that as well, using sort of intuitive listening or that inner inquiry?
Mm. Well, it all started with being true to yourself.
Yeah.
I do believe that we are telling ourselves a story, and that becomes our reality. But being true to ourselves and not pretend that things didn't happen, and acknowledge the truth.
Yeah.
And I do believe when we can acknowledge something happens with your body and your soul, because there is a shift happening.
Yeah.
And I do believe that I teach a tool. It's called Wisdom Pause. And it's all about to pause long enough to notice the difference in your emotions.
Mm.
So you can ask yourself questions like, how do I feel right now? Is this the right way for me to go? Where does this feeling come from?
Yeah.
And so forth. So I think that emotional fluency means that we stop fearing fear and anger and all those negative emotions and grief, and start using them as driving force or information
Yeah.
to move forward and get better.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's funny. And that sort of tied with that when you're saying about that facing the past and facing
Mhm.
those fears, right? And using those as a force. I think negotiation is often thought of as kind of a hard competitive process, but I think your work
Yeah.
shows how negotiating with ourselves can be one of the most transformative experiences. So, how do you see that connection between negotiating with our past, if you will, and negotiating for our future? What do you see as the connection there?
Well, if we have unresolved traumas, then it totally affects our decision making, our belief system, our values. It affects everything.
Yeah.
That means that if we are in that state of denying or refusing to go back, then we make decisions for the future totally wrong,
Yeah.
because they're based on values and belief system that you have been creating in survival mode.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, I think it's really important to see, to be able to negotiate your future and make the best of your future, is to be able to go back first.
Yeah.
Because if we cannot connect the dots, then
Yeah.
the
I
future
know.
is your decision is based on the
Yeah.
wrong
That really
history. So,
struck a chord with me, Susie, when you'd said about survival mode, because as you said that, I
Hmm.
thought, when we're in that place of survival mode, we're in an absolute
Yeah.
immediate reactive place, coming from a place of
Mm.
reactivity that is very sort of short-term focused. There's no room when you're in that sort of fight or flight survival response. Think about a future to plan for goals that go beyond the immediacy of that moment. And there's a real scarcity in that kind of survival mindset. So that really resonates with me. And just want to put a pin in that for our listeners as well, to recognize that when you allow those
Mhm.
past traumas, when you don't give yourself the space and grace to heal them, they affect your lives because there's that part of you that
Mhm.
stays in survivor mode, which really stops you from stepping into the full force of your future. Now, I know one of your you talked about the wisdom pause, which I love. And I know you
Uh-huh.
also have a four-step wisdom letter method. And tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your from me to you, like the movement you're creating and what
Yeah.
that four-step wisdom letter is and how it helps us heal trauma.
Yeah. So it all started with that letter I wrote to myself, and it was very transformative for me, and it got me curious how writing is healing. So I started to study those topics, and also based on the human experience for body, mind, soul, and heart,
Yeah.
what exactly do we need in order to write a healing letter to ourselves? And when I studied that, it became really obvious that it's not just what we need, but also in which order do we need to address it in the letter.
Yeah.
So I created this method, and having clients in 21 countries, they were my guinea pigs.
Yeah.
So I was testing out the method, and they got this beautiful response and results. And I thought, well, if they can do it, then it's kind of selfish for me to keep it to myself. And so based on my clients and all the network, it's kind of spread word of mouth.
Yeah.
And suddenly we had letters from all around the globe. They were sending in their stories
Wow.
of trauma, of wisdom, of forgiveness, of power and gratitude and everything. And so the movement was kind of started by itself, not deliberately from me,
Yeah.
but from all the people around the globe joining this platform and wanted to share the story and leave their legacy.
Oh,
So
how
the
beautiful. Ah.
yeah, yeah. So the four-step method is obviously first to acknowledge your wound. That is the first step we need to do, and absolutely write your truth.
Yeah.
Brutally, honestly write your truth. And from then we are able to identify and acknowledge our life lessons.
Yeah.
And those are really important, because if we cannot acknowledge the life lessons, then we have learned nothing
Yeah.
and we are not able to move on,
Yeah.
because we are kind of trapped in the same cycles over and over again. So the step two is the life lessons. And then step three is the wisdom. That's your time to share and pay forward. What advice can you give to others who are currently struggling and in pain and suffering? And then the last step, we are addressing the three high frequency emotions: forgiveness, gratitude, and love. What happens after you have written the four steps then is that it ends up with insights and new perspectives,
Right.
and people are starting doing things they never believed they
Yeah.
were going to do.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of success stories from wisdom letter writers sending in. One guy, he had his mother who was in jail, and he had not visited her for 15 years.
Wow.
And after writing his wisdom letter, he called me and he said, Sussi, I booked a flight. That's success for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And another a woman who had generational trauma of really heavy things, and she decided that the generational traumas to stop with me, not passed on to my kids.
Yeah.
And when her kid could feel safe and love in the home environment,
Yeah.
that is success of the four step
Yeah.
method. It's really powerful, and I'm so happy to hear all the good stories that is happening out there.
Well, and thank you for sharing it with us. I mean, some people always try and hold it close to their vest with that scarcity mentality. So I love that you're so
Yeah.
gracious to share with others. And because Susie's
Yeah.
so gracious, sort of sharing that method, in some ways it's so simple and yet it's so profound and powerful. And I want to take
Mhm.
a moment to challenge our listeners to find any trauma in your life that you have not fully dealt with or resolved. Or frankly, even if you think you have, I challenge you to do that four-step wisdom letter process that Sussi has just shared with us. And one of the things that struck me, Sussi, as you're saying that is when you talked about the difference that you first you have to do the acknowledgement, et cetera, and
Yeah.
then see what the lessons are, the learning from it.
Yeah.
It's not because that really is what transforms us from victim. Like going and
Yeah.
acknowledging the trauma, yes, that's important.
Mhm.
But if you end there, then you stay in that victim mentality as opposed to moving to a
Yeah.
more empowered state to allow you to go to your
Yeah.
so that's beautiful. Now, you just
Yeah.
mentioned generational trauma, and that triggered for
Yeah.
me that many people suffer from generational trauma for a whole
Mhm.
range of issues. I mean, some cultural, some specific to their
Mhm.
family. Any tips on how to break that cycle of generational trauma?
Well, we need to speak up.
Yeah.
We cannot keep any secrets anymore. I have worked with a lot of clients who have kept secrets from spouses, from children, from family because they're afraid to tell, they're ashamed, they're guilty. They feel a lot of all these negative emotions,
Yeah.
and all those silence them.
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do is to actually let's hear your voice. Just say it.
Yeah.
Just speak up and tell the story. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly, but it has to be your truth.
Yeah.
This is how I experience it. And if somebody else has a different story, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you need to address your story. So I think that's actually the first step, because I have had wisdom letter writers who are coming to me and says, I don't want to leave my name. And why is that? Well, my wife doesn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, to break the generational trauma, the first step is actually to tell your story. And for those people who are around you, they need to listen, not fix you, just listen,
Yeah.
and not leave, because a lot of people are afraid that if I share my story, people will leave me.
Yeah.
They will not be my friend anymore. They will divorce me or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's such a
Um,
freedom in expressing it, right? And it's funny when we talk about keeping those secrets, as you said that, I was thinking it's yes, we keep those secrets from family, from loved ones, from,
mhm,
our children. And I think in some ways we often keep those secrets from ourselves even, right? We don't acknowledge them, we don't really express them, and they get buried and they become like little toxic poison that
mhm.
leaches out into our system when we don't address it. So very powerful.
Yeah.
Now, you had
Yeah. Yeah.
mentioned about survival a couple of times, and I
Mhm.
mean, we have these really destructive, I think, often subconscious survival patterns that just keep repeating. So, do you have any suggestions on, in addition to your wisdom letter, are there other ways
Mhm.
as well where we can help unlock those sort of destructive subconscious survival patterns?
From my experience, people are having a hard time identifying survival patterns,
Yeah.
because if they have been living in that state for like 20 years,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is their day-to-day life. That is how it looks like. So that is their normal. But when we are trying to uncover bit by bit the past, we can see that there is uh, effects in relationships, in how you're parenting your kid, how you are as a spouse, or how you are as a leader, and etc. And I think if you're not able to have an honest look with yourself, then you need somebody else who
Mm,
you trust,
yeah.
who are able to say, well, maybe you can consider this and this and this. Because a lot of people are stuck in so many years that they're not able to see it. I have I have clients, executive coaching clients, that are saying, oh, no, that's fine. That's 30 years ago.
Yes.
But they're still affecting how they are as a leader. They're
Yeah.
still affecting how they treat their employees or how they are to the wife and, the kids. So even though there has been 20 years or 10 years or you,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard to identify it yourself. You need help. Somebody needs to be brutally honest with you,
Yeah.
and you need to listen
Yeah.
and say, I hear you. I
Yeah.
can see, I can connect the dots between that is my values now because of,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny how other people can sometimes see us more clearly than we can see ourselves because there's so much baggage there, like, little,
yeah,
like a fuzzy gauze in front of our face that kind of blocks us from seeing through. Now, can you
yeah.
share just a few tips on how to be more emotionally fit?
Be emotionally more emotionally fit is one tip is write down a journal every morning or
Hmm.
every evening. That's really good. Keep your tracks on what you're feeling, why it's coming up, what happened, what triggered,
Yeah.
etc. Another way that I find very positive is actually I used to play this game with my clients that they should say the alphabet but only use positive words starting with A.
Oh, I like that.
And if you're using, and that seems like a funny game, but if you are train yourself using positive words,
Yeah.
then you kind of block out the negative words that comes with negative emotions. So that is another tip. Also, emotional fit, well, you can take care of your body and your soul
Which is
because
that.
they actually speaks your truth.
Yeah.
So if you're not taking care of your health, overall health,
Yeah.
then it's easy to get this fatigue feelings, anxiety
Yeah.
feelings, depression feeling, you're not enough feelings,
Yeah.
all those negative emotions that actually shrink you and lower your self-belief.
Yeah.
So that's another tool to
Sure.
use.
Great tips.
Yeah.
I like that alphabet game with the positive words. Because, and again, for our listeners, you're getting all kinds of challenges here today. I challenge you to do that. Make that a new practice as you, and even if it's as you're
Yeah.
going to bed, lying, while your subconscious is most receptive,
Yeah.
be going through,
Yeah.
because we have, our reality is determined by the meaning that we attach to things that happen in our life.
Mhm.
So the more we train
Yeah.
ourselves to use, as Susie says, those positive language to become part of our
Yeah.
vocabulary. I was stunned at that study that the Cleveland Clinic did, where, the average person has, I forget what's like 60,000 thoughts a day, and it's something where in the
Yeah.
neighborhood, 80% of them are
Yeah.
negative and repeating thoughts. Like
Exactly.
imagine the power of swapping that out with more positive. I think that would
But
be,
but as I said, it's a simple game, but we have had so much fun because when the executive coaching clients are going through my coaching program, I always give them this exercise.
yeah.
And sometimes it had happens a couple of times that they email me and say, "Oh, everybody's laughing because the employees is laughing at me because they're saying, oh, so Susie had been coaching you." Dot dot dot. Because I've tried to train them because your self-talk
Yeah.
is so important because it feeds your brain with what to think and what to feel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. And I want to make sure we talk for a moment about re-victimization because it's always such
Mhm.
a kind of staggering to see that people who've suffered great traumas and been victimized tend to continue to be re-victimized. So if you could talk to us about your thoughts about, what is re-victimization, why does it happen? And I guess more importantly, how can we avoid it or negotiate our way out of that kind of re-victimization pattern?
Mhm. Well, from my point of view, you get re-victimized when you don't heal what's happened before.
Mhm.
I mean, if you have unresolved trauma
Yeah.
and something else happens, then you're re-victimizing again and again and again and again, which means that if you keep doing that and you have, let's say, 3 or 4 unresolved traumas in your body,
Yeah.
then it only takes a little teeny tiny thing that
Yeah.
snaps again and triggers you again.
Yeah.
which means that a lot of people, at least in America, where I have been working, a lot of people have issues with unresolved trauma. And when something else happens, it could be loss of a family member or the fires in California or burn down the house or something else that is really traumatic for you, an experience, you are falling down even deeper
Yeah.
because you are not have not been cultivating your mindset and your resilience and your strength and your courage and all those good great things. The first step to stop that cycle of being re-victimized is actually to deal with past
Yeah.
traumas. And I think also because some people just say, oh well, that's life,
Yeah.
that sort of things happens.
Yeah.
Well, it does, but what do you give power to,
Yeah.
and how do you want to live your life from
Yeah.
this point and forward?
Yeah.
But that's also a different path because that depends on fear,
Yeah.
almost 99% of fear, because they don't have probably not have the safety net or courage enough or somebody to lean on to actually deal with the trauma.
Yeah.
So
And it's funny
yeah.
to sort of poo-poo the idea, but I have increasingly as I get older, I really see the power of our expectations, right? And when we haven't dealt with past traumas, there is an expectation that lies there sort of dormant constantly with us that something is bad. We're expecting bad to happen.
Yeah.
And there's a certain magnetic attraction, which I think causes further re-victimization because we almost attract that into our life as opposed to resolving those traumas and expecting positive, expecting the best in life.
Mhm.
And then that becomes
Mhm.
sort of our more magnetic force, right? So
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
you had talked about some things that we can do. What are some things that we should not do when we're going through challenging times? Any tips about that?
Well, I do believe that we need to allow ourselves to cry
Mm,
and to be sad
yeah,
and to dwell if we have to,
yeah,
but limit it, just limit it.
yeah,
And yeah, because one tool that I give my clients is to schedule time for yourself to dwell,
yeah,
schedule time to cry, schedule time to grieve.
yeah,
And Friday, 10 o'clock, I'm going to think about this for 30 minutes with a cup of coffee.
yeah,
And that is really a good exercise because it's forcing you to all other time and all other days. I'm here, I'm present,
yeah,
and I'm doing my best. But on Friday at 10 o'clock, I'm taking my coffee and then I'm allowing my thoughts and emotions to just pour out. And I can take my journal or write a little bit or just cry a little bit or call a friend and dwell a little bit. But all other time,
yeah,
I need to be here for myself, for my kids, for whatever reason. I think that is the absolute best advice
yeah,
because otherwise we are kind of falling down and and then we are allowing ourselves to be sad because this happened to us
yeah,
instead of okay, this happened and now I need to take care of myself. And one part of taking care of yourself is not be in the valley for too long. You
yeah,
need to climb up.
yeah,
And that was exactly what happened after my brain injury because I found myself in a position where I couldn't recognize myself because my brain was actually injured and I had lost memory and a couple of other things. And so I couldn't identify myself with that super Sussi businesswoman.
yeah.
So I thought, well, this is the ultimate case study here. I
Hmm.
need to practice exactly this tool,
Yeah,
scheduling time with myself that, okay, now you can be sad on Friday, but all other days, you're
yeah,
going to show up for my daughter
yeah,
and you're going to show up for therapy
yeah,
and so on, because it's forcing you and gives you power to do your best
yeah,
because you know that on Friday, 10 o'clock,
yeah,
I can just
yeah. That's an interesting approach. I've never
cry
heard that
out.
before, right? It's funny. It's true. It's like you give yourself permission to fully explore it during
Ex
that slot.
ex
So that's it.
exactly.
And if you don't mind
So
me asking, what
mhm.
was the brain injury for? I didn't know that, Susie.
I was a passenger in a really serious car accident. We were me and my daughter, and obviously we were not supposed to survive that, considering how the car looked
Yeah. Wow.
afterwards. But I was in rehabilitation for a couple of years for my brain injury.
Wow.
So I needed to put my business on hold and then come back. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you have such a positive outlook on life. You're such a treat. And I can't believe how quickly our time has gone by here. And thank you for sharing so vulnerably as well. You certainly are practicing what you preach about sharing, not keeping those secrets, toxic little secrets.
No,
I normally end
no.
by asking, what is one of the greatest mindset shifts you've had in your life? Doesn't have to be about this or the stuff you coach. One of those aha moments for you that changed how you think about something or show up.
Hmm. I think that something that has followed me through all this is that we all have a past or something we have been through, but it's more important who we deliberately choose to become.
Mm. Oh, I love
So I think that your past matters,
Yeah.
but what matters more is what you do now and forward,
Yeah.
because that is actually how we lead ourselves. That is self leadership, how we lead ourselves and how we show up in the world, and allow ourselves to outgrow our past,
Yeah.
that we are not what happened to us. So I think those two are
Yeah. That
the
is
things that have.
so powerful. I'm sorry. That just, I was just envisioning myself as you said that. Imagine the
Mm,
strength of getting up every morning and just thinking for a
mm,
moment, how am I going to shape my future today? Right? Like
exactly.
constantly
Yeah.
living into a better and better and better future as opposed to dwelling on the
Mm.
past. Thank you. What a great note to end on, Susie. So, where can people learn more about you? Where should we be sending them?
You can go to frommetoumovement.com and
Perfect.
find everything there. Yeah.
Fabulous. And we will make sure to put that in the show notes as well. And I know Susie's got some gifts that she's wants to share with you, and we'll make sure to put that in the show notes for you as well. And I can't thank you enough, Susie. It's been a lovely conversation. It's gone just too quickly for my liking. Lots of great epiphany moments for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for having me.
And for our listeners, I have no doubt you had some great epiphany moments from this episode as well. I found a very unique perspective on some things and really simple, actionable steps that we can take to negotiate into our best lives. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And please, I often say, give the gift of sharing. Share this episode with people in your circle as well who could get the benefit from some of these simple little games and exercises and nuggets of wisdom. I'm personally going to go try that wisdom letter as soon as we're done here, Susie. And I hope you guys choose to share as well. And before we sign off today, I just want to share some ways we can work together if you're looking to up your negotiation skills. I've got everything from online to my signature mastermind and VIP experiences to help you better leverage your innate power to get more of what you want and deserve in life. If that sounds interesting, check it out at artoffemininenegotiation.com. Make sure to grab my book, Art of Feminine Negotiation, if you have not done that yet. And that is a wrap for this episode. So until next time, go forth and negotiate your best life on your terms so you can stop missing out and you can start getting more of what you want and deserve from the boardroom to the bedroom. Until next time, take care.